So we're Jeff and Jose. I'm Jeff of Jeff and Jose.
My name is Jose. I'm from Jeff and Jose.
Yeah, and this picture behind us is something that we designed when we were probably in our first few months working together in 2016 or 2017. We kept saying that when we presented to clients and when we would go to big meetings, we just felt like we were little kids with giant suits on. And it was an emotion that we felt really embodied who we were. And it kind of embodies how we feel right now, even talking to you guys, just like little kids with giant suits on, because we really just feel like we're just getting started. But we're going to tell you guys about our career and kind of give you some advice on how you guys can get the best out of each other. So, yeah, we'll dive into it.
Jeff and I, we are two creatives that are working right now at Disney's Yellow Shoes, which is the internal creative agency for the Walt Disney Company, and specifically working on in the department that is about the Disney parks and the cruise as well. I'm originally from Caracas, Venezuela. I moved here 8 years ago. And
yeah, I'm originally from Miami, so born and raised here. So yeah, I guess when we talk about the sort of theme of our presentation, it's going to kind of go all over the place and tell you the story of our career and how we work as partners. But I think when we were thinking about what we wanted to say to you, we feel like at Miami Ad School, you're in a position where you're trying to be the best, right? You're trying to build the best book. You're trying to advance yourself and to get a good career started. But it's not enough to just get the best out of yourself. If you want to be great, you have to get the best out of each other, right? Creativity doesn't happen in a vacuum. It happens as a back and forth between two people. And this is the person that I go back and forth with. So we feel like by showing you our career, by showing you how we got to Disney and how we got some of the accolades that we've gotten, we feel like you guys will draw a pretty good reference point for how you can work together as partners to advance and to do cool work. So yeah, we'll get started with that story.
Yeah, in order to establish our relationship.
Hold the mic closer to your mouth.
My bad. In 2015, I was doing an internship at Schermer Advertising in Fort Lauderdale, and they essentially have a program where they have 30 interns per year, and there is a competition by the end of it where you get a pitch to a client, and you spend the 3 months of it putting together your pitch to the client. And when there is a person that used to be an intern and they hire them, everyone basically tells you that you gotta go to them and ask them for some advices in order to fit your presentation, because they essentially know what they're looking for at the leadership level. So this person was Jeff. He was actually getting hired by Zimmerman. He was an intern the year before, and he was one of these guys that everyone was saying dude, you gotta show your presentation to Jeff, and he will guide you as part of the success at the end of the presentation.
And it's funny because he didn't show me anything, and then on the last day before the pitch, he's like, "Yo, bro, people told me I should show you stuff. Check this out." And I saw it, and I looked at it, and I was like, "Dude, you're gonna win. You didn't need to show me anything. You got this." So it kind of worked out in his favor, and he ended up winning Intern of the Year. So I knew that he was good, and I knew that he was someone that I wanted to work with in the future. But at the time, he had to go back to college, so we sort of went our separate ways. And then it was 2016, and I was still working at Zimmerman. I was a junior copywriter, and then I got promoted to a regular copywriter. And I was just sitting there one day working on some bullshit banners, and all of a sudden, my career changed forever. So I'm going to show you guys a case study right now, and then talk about what we learned from it and how it set pretty much everything else up for us going forward.
Tell me about Jamba Juice.
Tell me about Jamba Juice.
We have something similar in Britain.
We have something similar in Britain.
We call it Swishy Chug.
Would you like
Swishy Chug, it's called in English.
Swishy Chug, say it.
Swishy Chug.
Say it. Swishy Chug.
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 How did we turn a prank into an idea to promote our smoothies without a budget?
Obviously, there's no such thing as a Swishy Chug, and after it aired, this website appeared. It's swishychug.com. It says, "Move over tea and crumpets. England has a new national favorite, the Rolling in the Beets smoothie." And when you click on the coupon, it takes you to Jamba Juice, a website for $2 off any smoothie. So very cool. So Jamba Juice put that overnight. They put that up, and I love that they did that. I mean, that's a fantastic idea.
Thank you, Ellen, but it didn't happen overnight. it was faster. We picked up on the prank the morning it happened, and by the time the segment aired in the afternoon, we had built the Swishy Chug brand from scratch, complete with a logo, a website, a coupon, and a Twitter handle. We even launched 5 signature smoothies inspired by Adele. Within seconds of the broadcast, the internet lit up with conversations about Jamba Juice and Swishy Chug. We jumped in and took the opportunity to promote our smoothies through tweets and response videos. Our engagement went off the charts. In just 4 days, Jamba Juice was featured in over 1,200 publications, which led to an internet-breaking number of impressions, generating over $10 million of earned exposure. As a result of the campaign, 120,000 coupons were downloaded, and sales soared by 32%, while we spent $0 on media. In addition to promoting our smoothies, we created a conversation around the brand and brought it to life. While Swishy Chug may not be real, we found that the power of an idea certainly is.
So if you think about it, right? Yeah, thank you guys. So I'm sitting there in Zimmerman in like the lobby writing some copy. Like I said, it was either banners. I think it might have been like the ads you get when you go on bankofamerica.com, like the lowest level of stuff ever. And I'm sitting there, and all of a sudden, this luckiest thing in the world happens where Adele decides she's going to prank Jamba Juice with Ellen DeGeneres. And we, like I said, in one single day, I went from nobody to having a great case in my book. We won a gold pencil at the one show, a silver pencil at the one show. We pretty much won at every show around the world except for Cannes, which was really sad at the time. But it was crazy how, like, within a year, it just sort of, like, changed everything. And it changed, like, the trajectory of what we were going to do. And the reason why it's super important is because I like to remind Jose all the time that any day can be the day, right? Like, you might have nothing going on right now, but in 5 minutes, the craziest thing in the entire world can happen, and your brand jumps in on it, and all of a sudden, you have a gold pencil, and you're in New York partying. So any day can be the day, and that's something that, as we go forward in our career, we always remind each other to make sure that we never forget, you know, what can happen.
Yeah, it's almost like if you think about the amount of time that you spend putting together your ideas, and like sometimes it's unrealistic, either the budget, the client, or whatever the situation it is. Like we live for this because like after that thing happened to Jeff, like we have been able to like live every single day of our career, like thinking that you could get an inspiration for something, like you could meet someone that's just going to inspire you to like present your next idea, and that could be the thing that is just going to like launch your career. So in 2016, I actually graduated, and I was looking for a job at the time, and that list that you see over there, it was the list of agencies that the CEO at Zimmerman Advertising put together for me in order to advise me what agency should I just go and after graduated. So I didn't go to portfolio school. I studied in Lindenwood University in Missouri. So if you look at the names in that list, you probably know all the agencies, but the names are like Gary Graff, which is like the founder of Bardon, he put together PFAV, which is like, I think he's like one of the biggest guy in Deutsch right now. So like, I think that bluntly, I was just like emailing like their assistants, just trying to get to these people. And the funniest thing is all of this is just like when I graduated, I ended up coming back to Zimmerman. I was incredibly frustrated. I didn't get any single response for any of those guys, but like the good thing is like when I got there, Jeff was there, and I think that both of us were like finally aligned that we wanted to work together, and we were like ready to get the best out of ourselves, and I think that that's when.
Yeah, so we both got back to Zimmerman and we started to talk about working together, but we felt like Zimmerman wasn't necessarily the right place for us to do that. We wanted to go see other places, so I think one day I got a LinkedIn request from this guy, Milton LeBron, who was the CCO of Republica in Miami. And I knew that like a CCO wasn't going to hit you up on LinkedIn for no reason out of the blue. If they were hitting you up, they probably were looking for something. So I took a shot and I sent him a message. This is literally a screenshot. This is what I did. I Googled Republica because I had never really heard of them. And I found literally that exact day they had launched a video that was on Adweek. So I referenced it. I was like, yo, dude, this was amazing. I love that you guys did this. Like, I didn't really ask for anything. I just said, I'm looking forward to seeing what else comes out of your agency. And from there, he was like, yeah, you know, what are you up to? I'm looking to restructure the department. Maybe you could join us. So I knew I wanted to go. I ended up getting the job without Jose. And then I talked to Jose, and I was like, bro, I jumped the gun a bit right there. My bad. I was like, Jose, we need to put together some ideas to make it look like we've worked together before. Like, we need something in our book. So we got together one day and we did a little spec campaign that we're going to show you.
Yeah, I think that we started working together. We freelanced for a barbershop in Weston, and we basically like built their strategy and we put together some creative. But after that, what we put together, we felt that we needed something else. And one day I was driving to Jeff's house, and I was driving. I think I was speeding, and I remember that there was a cop behind me, and I felt that I was literally needed to go to the bathroom. So I was like, oh my God, I'm gonna get stopped. I'm gonna get pulled over. So I immediately came to Jeff's house and I told him what I was feeling, right? And I was like, dude, imagine if we do something where we could actually like recreate some prints where like you're gonna create situations where you actually feel that you need to go to the bathroom, and this was one of the ones inspired by that situation.
Yeah, so different situations that make you feel like you're going to shit your pants, like where a cop's going to pull you over, or if your mom texts you that you found your rolling papers, or if you get unexpectedly pregnant. So they were kind of like crass and like funny, but we just did them to show that we worked together before because we felt like we needed to do that if I wanted to position him as someone that they should hire specifically to work with me. And that's exactly what happened. So after a couple months at Republico by myself, they hired Jose and we could officially be like the tandem that we always wanted to be. And I think once we actually started working with each other every single day is when we really got to know each other well. And one thing that we think helped us come up with our ideas is that like we shared things with each other that we cared about. Like we shared things that mattered to us, and we came up with ideas based on those things. And they're things that we would have never got into ever on our own. It's only because one of us had a really vested interest in that thing that we went ahead and explored it. So this is an example of something that we put in our book that I think is a pretty big reason that we got a job at Disney, because at the time, it was a pretty successful initiative that we just did on our own.
Yeah, I think that one of the most important things is not only about sharing it, but like you actually have to find someone that's willing to care about the thing that you're sharing. Because like I could share anything with you, but if you aren't interested about knowing or learning more about what I'm sharing, it's where you can actually start getting the best out of your partner. Like this is one of the examples that, like as I tell you earlier, I'm originally from Venezuela, and in 2017, April 11th, there's a huge protest going on in the country, and I remember that. Sorry. I remember that all my friends, like, we were donating money to the people in the country, specifically to this organization called Primeros Auxilios UCB, which they are essentially like a group of people that they were helping people. They were first, like the first roaders that they were fighting against the cop, and like people were sending money and like supplies from here in order for them to supply them to the people on the streets. So people were basically like sending money to different Venmo accounts, and I remember that morning I called Jeff and I was like, dude, I wish like we could have all my friends that are here outside of the country that we can be physically there helping them. Like, how can we do something? And I was like, what if we have like every single Venezuelan like just send $1 to a Venmo account?
Yeah, so he wanted to do something with Venmo, and I remember I was in the car and I was thinking like, all right, like this is super rudimentary, but Venmo starts with a V, Venezuela starts with a V, and the words V for Venezuela just like popped into my head, like V for Vendetta, and I thought it would be a cool hashtag. And then I realized that the Venmo logo is just a giant V, and if you think about it, it's kind of like a symbol for sharing money. So we thought, what if we could turn the symbol for sharing money into something that was associated with Venezuela? So we created a Venmo account called V for Venezuela. It took us like 3 seconds to make. All we had to do was do that little Photoshop job. And then we put a post on my Instagram account and Jose's Instagram account, and we kept it super simple so that anyone who shared it would have all the information in one place, and anyone would be able to know where to Venmo things. The hardest part was kind of like getting people to trust us. So we kind of wrote this copy that, let people know what we were going to use the money for, that everything was going to be sent where we said it was going to be sent, and we just posted it, and we wanted to see what happened.
I think that something important from this is that we knew the medium where people were communicating. I think that sometimes you can have a great idea, but if you don't necessarily execute it in the right medium, like you probably not gonna get the best out of it if you don't put it in the right one. So I knew that everyone was communicating through WhatsApp. So like that's why we put all the information in only one frame, including the hashtag, what we were asking the people for, the V as the V for Venezuela. And we asked only for $1 because we felt that if we were asking for more, there was just gonna be people that they were not going to do it. Like, it was kind of like a difficult ask for them to trust in us.
Venmo someone out of nowhere. Who's going to want to do that?
Exactly.
But we did it, and then literally like an hour later, there was $1,000 in the Venmo account, and we were like freaking out. Like, we're in the middle of work, and our phones just are vibrating nonstop. Like, we have no idea what's going on. We feel like we're getting in over our heads. Like, we don't know what to do with all this money. And then like an hour later, it's at $6,000.
And I remember that when that happened, I was just going crazy. Like, Jeff, you need to cash that out. You need to cash it out. And then I remember that Jeff's brother called him, and he went like, because his brother is a lawyer, and he was like, dude, don't take that money out because you're gonna get all taxed it. And
like, we caused trouble for ourselves, and it was like, what do we do? And then when we tried to take the money out, I got this error message, right? The transaction couldn't be complete. So Venmo, because you're technically not allowed to use their account for those reasons, they froze our account. So we had over $10,000 of like money that was supposed to go to Venezuelan people. We had thousands of people who donated money to us that wanted to see where that money was going to go. And all of the money was stuck in limbo because Venmo didn't want to let us do anything with it because we broke literally every single one of their rules. But at the time, like, it was 2017 spring, so United Airways just did that thing where they fucked up heavily and they dragged that guy through the airline and they got a ton of negative press. And Pepsi had just dropped their ad with Kendall Jenner where they were super tone deaf and they got a ton of negative press. So we felt like the best thing we could do is like essentially threaten Venmo and be like, if you guys make us give this money back, there's going to be 2,000 Venezuelan people that are going to hate you guys. And I wrote this crazy email where I told the whole story of what we did. And the part that's dope is that
I told Jeff that he shouldn't have sent that email.
he told me
we
not
got
to
into
do
a
it.
fight because of that. Because I was scared that they were literally going to freeze the money and send it away to everyone. And he was the one like, dude, we have to do it. So like that was the moment that we trust each other and we went as a team and we ended up sending it.
Yeah, and the part that I wanted you guys to see, because it's like a giant email block, right, is that I took Venmo's mission statement from online and I quoted it and I said, Venmo's mission statement is to connect the world and empower people through payments. From a public relations perspective, what could be a more perfect manifestation of that statement than V for Venezuela? On the flip side, if the nearly 2,000 people who donated to a cause aimed at helping a country they love were to have their payments reversed, the PR nightmare would be imminent. I like dropped that, and I think I scared the guy because the next day I got an email that said that the $10,000 that were in my account were going to be released and we were actually going to be able to donate it. And that's exactly what we did.
Yeah, after that, like, since as I was telling you earlier, like, we couldn't get the money out, so like we had to find a nonprofit organization, and we partnered with Ana Isabel Otero, which is a big famous person in Venezuela that's always helping with all the situation that's going on over there, and she was the one who helped us basically like cash that out, give it to an organization here, and we were able to send like all the stuff that we said that we were going to send to the people in Venezuela. Like, the thing went kind of like viral within our people, like, and that's just like a screenshot of all the people like posting in social media, like all the people using the hashtag as well. Like, we started getting like people from that we didn't even know that they were donating money for it. And after that, I just like wanted to give thanks to people, and I found a way to basically like download the profile pictures of everyone on Venmo, and that's the logo of the organization that we donated in Venezuela. And I basically like built this Photoshop file, kind of like an art piece, where you could see like all the people that collaborated to this cause. When you think about this, I think that it came from a personal point of view, like the whole inspiration, but like this is also a lesson that you don't necessarily need a brand to do cool ideas and have them in your book. I think that you guys can just like go out and start making stuff, and even if there's not a brand behind it, like things like this could happen.
Yeah, the other thing that I think is super important from this sort of case is that when it comes to brands, any word that they put out there and they associate with their brand is essentially a weapon for you to use against them. Like, Venmo agreed to release our funds because I literally quoted their mission statement and held it up to them and was like, are you guys living up to this right now? And I think when you guys pitch ideas, like, let's say that the brand has a brand value and it's that they're like surprising. Well, from a creative perspective, that essentially means that you can pitch them surprising ass ideas and they can't turn them down because they're on brand. So any word that a brand gives you and sort of puts in your hand is a weapon that you can then use against them. So then to move on to the next sort of kind of big thing that happened in our career,
When we were at Republica at the time, and Republica has a nonprofit organization that every year they do a pro bono campaign, and this was the campaign from the year before, which were a series of prints that said it should be worn, not feared.
Yeah, they took like belts and they made them out to look like monsters, and they made these prints and they were pretty celebrated. They were really cool. But our boss came up to us one day, pretty soon after V for Venezuela, and he's like, I want you guys to be the team that does the pro bono campaign for Amigos for Kids this year. I want you guys to come up with a big idea. I think this is a good platform for you guys. What do you want to do? But he didn't really give us like any parameters. He wasn't like, I want to print, I want out of home, I want a stunt. He was just kind of pretty open about it. So my fiance is a teacher. I'm engaged. I wasn't at the time, so my girlfriend was a teacher. And when I was thinking about how we could help, I thought maybe like if there was a way that we could help teachers find out when their kids may or may not be involved in abuse, it was a good place to start, right? Like these teachers have their kids in front of them every single day. They're the ones who are on the front lines with them. So if they notice the signs of child abuse, they could be the first ones to prevent it. And we started looking for like unexpected signs of child abuse, right? Like if a kid has a bruise or if he's like super standoffish, he used to be really social and now he's not, like you might know there's something up with him. But we started to look into ways that we might be able to spot signs of abuse that you wouldn't expect. And Jose asked a really brilliant question one day when we were walking back from lunch. He said, I wonder if there was ever a kid who exposed the fact that he was being abused through his drawings in class. And it was like, damn, like I wonder if that happened. So we looked it up and we found this article.
Yeah, I think that when I asked the question, like we both look at each other and we're like, oh my God, let's look it up. And then we started Googling stuff, and then we found an article that had a study from a professor from Australia that it had around 40 drawings, and those drawings were like divided by different like signs of abuse in drawings kits.
Yeah, so if you look at this image right here, you know, it just looks like a picture of a guy, but it was actually part of a case of abuse, and it was actually the thing that afterwards, when they looked back at it, they noticed that there were several things that aligned with research that they had. So like, if you look at the fingers, they're super sharp. If you look at the teeth, they're super sharp. So those are two things that in abused kids is a pattern. They draw adults with really exaggerated, sharp features.
Yeah, and that doesn't say that every time that you see a drawing like that, you necessarily have to get alarmed or anything. It's just like something that you might want to take a look at it and ask some questions
about, like, why did you draw this, or what is this?
This is another example that you see. That's the kid that drew this one. It's the one that is kind of like floating over there. That he felt that he was harmless and he was floating because his mom, and her sister were essentially like abusing him. So, and I think that the eyes, it's another one where the kid like get lost in the how do you say it?
They feel like hopeless. It's
Exactly.
like they don't have eyes.
Yeah.
So we had all these different drawings that were really dark and disturbing, but we felt like they were really powerful stories that showed you an unexpected way that you could detect child abuse. And we just needed a medium to expose this to people and to show people this story and to sort of like unveil this kind of disturbing but important truth. So this is what we did.
Sometimes I draw scary things.
When I entered, thinking, oh, crayons and children, you know, magic and all the fun that we've all had with crayons in our life.
Here's a drawing by an 8-year-old boy. He drew one of his daddy's friends.
The one in the middle is the coach, and the animal is how she drew her mommy.
As you go through it and you listen to the audio, it becomes something very dark.
Nobody knew it at the time, but they were both abusing her.
Then they found out the man was making the boy do bad things.
That's when they realized the girl was floating. They say this means that she felt helpless and voiceless.
Another sign found way too late.
When I started to listen to the audio, I instantly got chills.
Os primeiros 5 segundos foram impacto fortíssimo.
You know, they're there, but you're not really looking at them until you listen, and then you look afterwards and you say, wow, that's right in my face.
They come home and they bring a picture, and mommy and daddy just put it on the refrigerator, and they don't have these conversations.
I do remember a specific drawing that I did where I didn't have hands, and now I understand what it means.
Lo lamentable que puede ser escuchar algo así de parte de alguien tan inocente.
Every person in education or anything to do with youth should be aware of this.
Broken Crayons is shining light on the dark subject for Miami Art Week.
Una de las exhibiciones que más está llamando la atención esta noche se llama Broken Crayons.
The art exhibit highlighting the troubling signs of child abuse and its effects through children's art.
Thank you. So yeah, super important project. It was a really big deal for us to be able to bring it to life. And the crazy part is how much it cost and how much we paid to do it.
The project ended up being around 70K, like when you put everything together in terms of the production, the location, the walls that we have to put, like the camera, like that bench over there, like we actually bought it too. And when you think about that, we ended up paying $0 for this. It's actually kind of crazy, and it shows how, like, when you have a powerful idea, like, everyone wants to get around it and be part of it. It was a collaborative effort between the agency and all the partners that we were able to pull in order to make it happen.
Yeah, I mean, we had to get a production company to shoot it. We had to get a director. We had to get someone to print everything. We had to get someone to literally donate their space in Wynwood. Like, if you guys could imagine how much it might cost to rent out an art gallery or something that could be used as an art gallery in the district of Wynwood during Art Basel, like, it's the craziest ask. People literally laughed us out of rooms, but we had no money to spend because we're a nonprofit organization, so we had to do everything we could to make it happen, and that's exactly what we did. And this is some of the results that came from it. We were finalisted at Cannes. We got married at the One Show. We won a bunch of Clios. We were in Lercher's archive. We essentially got placed everywhere that we ever wanted to be placed, and it was really a testament to, like, what you do if you follow your vision and don't give up and do whatever you have to do to make it happen. This is a screenshot of me and Jose literally crying at like 4:30 in the morning on FaceTime when we found out that we got shortlisted at Cannes. So it was like a super emotional moment for us. And then this screenshot means like a ton to me because, you know, these are campaigns that when they came out, like our jaws dropped, right? Like Scary Clown Night was incredible. The Flip, obviously, I didn't like it for personal reasons, but it got a ton of awards. Alexa Loses Her Voice, amazing. And then Broken Crayons, like it felt super surreal to see it sort of in the presence of these other campaigns, and it felt like something that I would say we couldn't imagine it, but like we always sort of knew that it would get there, and we just needed other people to know that too, because again, like a $70,000 idea is not going to happen on its own.
One of the biggest things that we learned during those 7 months that we're working on this is that, like, sometimes you gotta push beyond your role, and I feel like as creative, like we gotta be able to do more than that, because like people don't really there's no time for other people to do like stuff like this one when you actually are the one who are driving it. I think that we were account people, we were creative, we were producers, PR, like we were trying to push everyone in order for this to happen. And when we ended up making it and we saw the result, we all felt like incredible as a team at the time.
We literally did a 50-50 raffle to fund the travel of the production company. Like I went around the agency, I got money from everybody, like we funded it ourselves, and that just shows how passionate we were about it. So then to segue, like the day before that happened, the day before the art gallery, Jose and I disappeared from the agency for like a whole day, and nobody knew where we were, and everyone was freaking out because the project was launching in a day, and like the two creatives that were working on it were nowhere to be found. And the reason why we were nowhere to be found was because we were interviewing at Disney, and it was like terrible timing, but it was the only time that we had. So there's a funny story where it's like the day before it's going to launch, we just finished our interview. We go to Animal Kingdom because they gave us free tickets for the day, and we're riding the safari ride, which is why there's a giraffe in front of us. And I'm getting all these texts from my boss, like, dude, I need you to do this, I need you to do that. And he's calling me, and I can't answer him because we're on the safari ride, and there's a giraffe literally in the middle of the road. And the guy's like, if you look to your left, you'll see a hippo. If you look to your right, you'll see a giraffe. And if I answer the phone, like, my cover's completely blown. So I didn't, and we ended up pulling that off and also getting the job at Disney, which is where we work now. We're at Yellow Shoes.
As I was telling you earlier, we work at Yellow Shoes, which is the internal agency for Disney Park and Resorts and now Consumer Products. So we basically do all the work that has to do with the promotion of the new lands, new products, and I think that we got here without even knowing that we were going to get to a place like Disney, and the ride in the past year and a half, it's been incredible.
Yeah, so something that's super dope about working at Yellow Shoes is that you think when you work in-house, you only have one brand, right? Like when you work at Nike, you only work on Nike. But with Disney, there's like a billion brands beneath Disney Parks and Resorts. Like Disneyland is a brand, Disney World is a brand, Magic Kingdom's a brand, Hollywood Studios is a brand, Epcot's a brand, and then even within those, the rides are brands, the new lands are brands. Everything is a brand with its own personality and its own tone. So one of the first things we got to work on was a campaign for Toy Story Land, which was launching in Disney's Hollywood Studios this past summer. And the ask was literally for 4 social posts. Like, we need 4 posts that we can put out after the land opens that show people like the fact that it's multi-generational, that anyone can find something that they'll love here, and also just highlight the product in an interesting way. But the crazy part was they gave us $120K to make those 4 social posts with, yeah. So we did Broken Crayons for $70K, and here we have $120K to do whatever we want with, well, not whatever we want, sorry, to make 4 social posts with. But we wanted to do it in our style. Like, I feel like we were kind of developing a style through our work, and especially with Broken Crayons, we realized that something that we like to do is set up a premise, right? So where you don't need to write a script. Like, your idea is your execution. You come up with an idea, you see how it plays out, you film it, and then what happens is what you get. So I'm not sitting there writing a script about a story. We're creating our story ourselves. So we needed to figure out what we were going to do in our style that would show off Toy Story Land and how great it was.
Yeah, it's almost like predicting the future. Like, we think that that's going to happen, and we after that is when we see what we capture and we put it together. So as you might know, this is Andy, and I'm going to talk about the premise of Toy Story Land, which it was created by the Imagineers, and it's about, like, if you think about Andy, he put together a land with his toys. He essentially got a Hot Wheel, how do you call that?
Like the roller coaster is supposed to be a Hot Wheels track that he built, and he put it together, and he put his Slinky Dog toy on it, and that's the roller coaster. So when you go to Toy Story Land, you become a toy, and you get to play in this world that Andy from the movie created. So
yeah,
it's all based on him and his imagination.
And what is cool is, like, when you get into the land, everything is gigantic. So, like, you essentially become the size of like a little, like, green army man. And when we were thinking about this brief, I remember that I asked a question, and I literally frame it like this. I think that, bro, I have a stupid question. What do you think if we invite like 50 people named Andy to the park? And
I was like, that's dope. Like, I was like, that's not stupid at all. If you think about it, Andy is a name that is unisex, right? So, like, it could be a guy or it could be a girl. Obviously, in the movie, Andy was a 10-year-old kid, but, like, there could be a 60-year-old woman named Andy with an I. There can be a little boy named Andy. There can be a mom. There can be a dad. Like, the name Andy encompasses everyone who could find something that they love in Toy Story Land. So if you look at this grid over here, this is 50 people, and every single one of them is either named Andy or a variation of the name Andy. So these are the people that we found, and we invited them for a night in Toy Story Land that we don't think that they're ever going to forget. So this is the film. Oh, sorry. Before we did that,
when we were looking for directors, like, this director came up, and his name is Andy Hines. So we felt that in order to stay true to the idea, and we wanted to celebrate Andy's creativity, we first of all, because of his craft, that he's amazing, and also the fact that his name is Andy. So imagine that the moment when we pitch the idea to him, like how he felt and how he was going to put his own creative lens into something that he was incredibly related to.
Yeah, like, and Andy's a big deal. Like, he's worked with Kanye. He did the video for 1-800 with Logic, the suicide awareness song. So he's a big deal in the industry, and he was super excited about it because he's an Andy. And so we say we had 50 Andys, but we really had 51 because Andy Hines was involved in it too. So we're going to play the film that we posted on YouTube, like sort of the hero film, and then break down why it worked and how we ended up getting the social posts out of it as well that we initially were tasked with getting. So this is a like 2.5-minute film.
My name is Andy Souza.
I'm Andy Really.
Andrew Probert.
I'm Andre.
Andrea Barber. Andy Garza.
I'm an internet personality, so I make my own videos.
I played Kimmy Gibbler on Full and Fuller House.
I'm a concept designer for entertainment.
This is a dream come true for me.
I'm excited about being shrunk down to the size of a toy.
And I'm already 5'2", so I don't know if it's possible to feel much smaller.
Good evening. It's Andy Night in the backyard. Make some noise!
We all have the same name.
Somebody would call, "Hey, Andy."
Who's named Andy?
Everybody would turn around.
That didn't help, did it?
Which is super funny.
Walking into the park, seeing all the lights and the toys and everything, I felt little.
It felt super cool.
It is like a little world in Andy's backyard, and the rides feel that way too.
You didn't know exactly what direction you were going to go in, so you couldn't anticipate which way you were going to be thrown.
That one was really fun.
You're looking at this beautiful roller coaster, and it has the vibe and the feel that Andy built it.
The roller coaster was a lot faster than I expected.
I was screaming at the top of my lungs the whole time.
It's been fun and games to this point. Are we ready for more fun?
You sit down in the seats and you like look around and you go, wait a minute, we're in Andy's room. Andrea Barber, we got to do Toy Story Mania together.
It brought out all of the competitiveness in me.
I won. I just gotta put that out there.
The next time I write it, I'm gonna win.
Well done.
Then Woody and Jesse came walking in. That was great.
It was very special.
Everywhere you looked, you could see a kid's imagination at play. I was impressed.
It was just whimsical.
It was amazing.
Thank you, Mom and Dad, for naming me Andy.
Andy.
Andy. Andy.
Andy.
Andy.
So yeah, a film by Andy Hines, and that's honestly our favorite part. I don't know how many people get to the end of it because it's a little long. I think it's good, but I hope people get to that and smile when they realize that it was made by an Andy. But again, like what you saw was like a 2.5 minute film, right? Like that wasn't the ask. So you're probably like, how did you let them spend their money on something that wasn't for social posts at all? Well, the good news is it was for social posts. So this is how we framed Andy Night as a post specifically to promote the roller coaster.
The Slinky Dog Dash was my favorite.
It has the vibe and the feel that Andy built it.
I was definitely screaming at the top of my lungs the whole time.
It was amazing.
So, social post. Another one.
Alien saucers were great.
Feels like a little world in Andy's backyard.
You didn't know exactly what direction you were going to go in, so you couldn't anticipate which way you were going to be thrown.
It was just awesome.
I think that I'm gonna go on. Like, I think that what's cool is that, like from the original ask, which was like for social posts, like we were able to find a concept that actually allows to end up doing that in a way that had a concept around it. I think that we were able to find like different type of demographic, which was part of the brief in order to hit it, and we were able to also like do different like social posts, like targeted depending on the demographic that we were asked for. So like in terms of the strategy, I think it's something to point out too.
Yeah, now there's going to be a baby named Andy, which is dope. So that's some comments that we liked from Facebook. I think that's what's cool about creative today is that you get like pretty immediate feedback on your work. Like you can see how people are feeling it online and if they're not. So we were happy with the reception to this.
I think that when you think about like every brief that you're giving, you always sort of try to like think that the brief is just the start. Like what they asking you is just where you start, and then you always gotta find a way to elevate it and make something bigger within the partners, and always making sure that you're hitting the initial ask.
Yeah, and then the other thing that this kind of made us realize is that when you think about like ideas versus media, a good way to think of it is ideas are beer and media is glass, right? Like with that idea, it was an experiential event, but it was also a social post, but it was also an online film, but we also put a film in cinemas, and we also did a press release. So it was, the beer was the idea of inviting people named Andy to Toy Story Land, and all the different glasses that we put it in, it never changed what the idea was, right? Like it just changed the way that you deliver the idea to the person. And I think that's a pretty cool way of divorcing the media from the idea, because if your idea is strong enough, it should be able to fit in any kind of glass. And if it only works as a print, like it's not beer, it's just the glass. So that's kind of like a little proverbial metaphor. And this is the very last thing we're gonna show you guys, just one more campaign. Are we doing good on time? Okay, cool. Go ahead.
Me?
Yeah, bro.
Cool. So if you think about these two brands right here, like the NBA and Disney, I don't know if you know, but like Disney is opening something called the NBA Experience in Orlando, which is essentially something created between the Imagineers from Disney and the NBA. It's a collaboration where you're going to be able to experience like 13 different experiences, from dunk, you're going to be able to shoot, you're going to be able to dribble in front of like an NBA coach. So we got assigned to work on this campaign, and we thought that if you think about an insight between the two of these brands is
an intersection.
An intersection between these two brands is just like both brands are rooted into dreams. Like kids dream to become NBA players, and when you go to Disney, like it's the place where dreams come true. So
yeah, so dreams felt like a really good area to play into with this, because like Jose said, it's the perfect manifestation of where these two brands intersect. So the platform that we ended up creating for this is called Take Your Shot. So at the NBA Experience, you have the opportunity to go out there, take your shot, seize your dreams. We like obviously like the duality of it, because it's a basketball word. It evokes getting a chance, and it evokes getting an opportunity. And it's kind of like a call to action that can go beyond just the NBA. So we're going to show you like a 30-second spot, a 15-second spot, and then some stills that we did. And this is based on the idea that when you're a kid and you play basketball, you sort of dream that you're the player that you're admiring, right? Like you sort of channel them and become them. So that's what you're going to see taking place in this spot. That's a 30, and then we did 15 executions with just like one player, and it told more of a story of like what might be going on in that kid's head at the time.
They can't stop you. They can't catch you.
And then we were also tasked to essentially like create, part of the campaign was to be able to do banners and like out of home and like print ads. So like we got it like in the collaboration with the NBA, they provide the NBA shots, and we essentially like match them with our talent. We had to go to LA and got like thousands of shots of these kids in order to make them look like they were actually recreating that shot that we got from the NBA.
Yeah, it was weird. Like we got to use the NBA players, but we weren't allowed to actually shoot them. So we had to use footage that already previously existed. So what we did was we had two monitors at our shoot. We had one that was showing us what the talent was doing and one that was a feed of the NBA clip. And we set the camera in the exact same place that it's set up on an NBA court, because there's only like 8 locations that you're allowed to put cameras, and we figured that out. So we were essentially, we wouldn't tell the kid what he had to do because we wanted it to match without trying too hard, but we would just have them run the same play over and over again and be like, yo, like cross over to the left, like, oh, lay up to the right, and it would eventually match up with the footage that we were looking for, and we rock from there. But this was a really difficult campaign to produce just because the concept itself was super ambitious. Like, to take the fact that we thought we could find footage that would work for what we were trying to do, like, it's really hard because you need shots that are completely clean, right? Like, there can't be a defender jumping over the guy or trying to get in his way. Like, you need just the player. So it was really limiting what we could use, but we were happy with how it turned out.
It also shows, like, what Jeff was saying earlier, where when you go to a place like Disney, like, you get to work with different brands within the Walt Disney Company. Like, we never thought that we were going to be working with the NBA until September, that we got briefed in this project, and it's something completely different. Like when you put it next to Andy and I, which is the project that we did, like that we just show you.
Yeah, so then the real learning from this is like, right, defy your style. So we felt like it's super important to create a style, like to have a way that you like to do ideas that maybe like 3 or 4 ideas in your book kind of fall under. But then once you find that style and once you start executing against it, like do the complete opposite. Like, I think it took everything in our power to fight ourselves from doing like a experiential style campaign where we just film people like reacting to something crazy that happened at the NBA experience or something like that, to go with this more like artful approach where we were actually creating fake spots instead of like capturing reality and putting it out there. We had to fight a lot of our like instincts, but I think that by defying our style, we created a piece that's going to round out our portfolio and like show that we're not one-dimensional, that we're able to think in like a multitude of ways and execute in a multitude of ways as well. So then super quick, just like last random insights, and then I guess we could do Q&A. We're just going to like spitball these as fast as we can. It's the first one.
Mondays don't suck.
Sorry.
Mondays are amazing. And I have an advice to you, like if you can make Mondays, essentially like you have to do something on Monday that you would do on Friday. If you get beers on Friday, get a beer on Monday. If you play music when you take a shower in the morning on Fridays because you're going out during the weekend, do it on Monday. That's definitely going to help you lose and get your week better, like no matter what's going on in your life.
Yeah, it kind of sucks, right? Like we live in this culture where we're taught that 1 out of the 7 days of the week sucks, and that like there's nothing that we could do on that day that could be good. But that's shitty, right? Like you're limiting your potential and you're limiting your creativity if you wake up on a Monday like, shit, it's Monday. Like Garfield put really terrible ideas in everyone's head. So it's all about overpowering Mondays and treating them like they're Fridays. The next thing I'm going to say is a little controversial, but it's true. Embrace favoritism. There's favorites in an agency, but the secret is that any of you can be the favorite because you're going to be the hungriest people that walk in. Like when you go somewhere and you're hungry and you're passionate and you remind the creative leadership of themselves when they were younger, they're going to really take a liking to you and they're going to like what you have to say, and things are a lot easier to sell when people like you. And not to say that we're the favorites everywhere, but we've learned that you have to embrace favoritism and really try and make it work in your advantage. Because like I said, all of you can be the favorite because you're at Miami Ad School and you're getting an incredible education that a lot of people aren't going to have.
You got to be able to find your dynamic with your partner. I think that Jeff and I, Jeff is the person that I spend the most time in my life, to be honest. And like at the beginning, like I remember that I used to get so mad at him until I realized like how he is. And now like I feel like after trying to find our dynamic, like things are always like getting better. So I encourage you to like, no matter the partner that you're working with, like even if it's someone that you have been working for 2 months or like you're someone that you just meet, try to find a different dynamic and adapt it in order for the best work to come out of that.
True. Yeah, and this isn't on here, but I realized as I was just talking, like, realize how lucky you are to be at Miami Ad School. It's not a thing that a lot of people get to do, and I think, like, we didn't get to do it, and we struggled a lot at the beginning of our career to find a place where people would, like, respect us and take us seriously without having that background and that portfolio and that expertise. So the fact that you guys are in this school and, like, literally your job is to come up with awesome ideas, like, that's amazing. You're not going to be able to do that anytime else in your career unless you're on one of those like special scam award teams that they have at certain agencies, which I would love to be on, to be honest with you. So that's something super important. And the last thing is just ask questions. Like ask your CDs how they started. Ask them what the first case study they made was. Ask them how they got into advertising. That's another way to become someone's favorite, is to let them tell you stories about themselves, because when they do all the talking and they tell you things about themselves, they're going to think they had a great conversation with you, even though you don't have to say anything, which is really dope. And based on asking questions, I don't know if we do Q&A now or what, but we're ready to turn it over to you guys. That's pretty much everything that we prepared.